All right, I think I'll start things up now. Yay! All right, welcome to my panel, The Sims Breaking It Down. Yeah, Stool, exactly. I couldn't have said it better. In this panel, I'm going to be focusing primarily on the mainline The Sims games on Windows and Mac. So their general history and odd things in the different games, and I unfortunately will not be really discussing The Sims console games or spin-off games or just the miscellaneous Sims games. Even if I do love Sims Medieval and My Sims, I'm just going to be talking about the console games really, or the computer games. I'll also go a little bit into some of the controversies regarding a few titles or a few expansions perhaps. And my disclaimer is that there's a lot of Sims games. I do not remember every single detail of every expansion. I try my best, but there's many years worth of content and many hours of gameplay and millions of expansions, so sometimes it's hard to remember things. Also, other disclaimer is this panel could go on for hours, for days, I don't know, forever. Yeah. So I have an hour, and I'm going to be using most of that hour. So if I don't cover your favorite, cool thing about Sims, I'm sorry, but, I wish I could, but I can't. But that just means for you people who don't know everything about The Sims, you can go and learn about it on your own time, and that's, part of the fun. So you get, a little taste here, and then you can go on. Yay. So I hope you enjoy your time with me in this panel, though. And I'll give a little bit of an introduction first. So my name is Sonia. I'm 26. Pronouns are she, her. And my job, well, you wouldn't believe this, but my job title is Gaming and Sim Engineer. That's pretty crazy. I did not make that up. It's pretty cool. The original Sims game was my first Sims game, but my favorite one is Sims 2. I love The Sims 2. And this is a franchise in which basically every few years I get re-addicted. So I'm not someone who plays every day forever all of my life, but I'm someone every few years I'm all right, I'll play this for a few hundred more hours, and then I take a break for a little while, and then I go back and I'm all right, another few hundred hours on this one. So it's like an on and off game for me, which means it's just always around. Outside of The Sims, I'm really into visual novels and interactive narrative in general and horror and movies. So you can kind of tell there's a theme there of narrative and storytelling, hence kind of my love for The Sims. So for those of you who aren't really familiar with The Sims, what is... Oh god, sorry, BattleNet just popped up. Sorry, okay, it's fine. What is The Sims? Well, a little bit of a history first for the franchise. So in 1987, Will Wright and Jeff Brown founded Maxis to publish their first game, SimCity, in 1989. And most of y'all are probably familiar with SimCity, but if not, the general premise is that it's a city building simulation game, hence the name SimCity. Wright independently worked on this game for a few years, with most publishers initially not really being all that interested in helping publish this title, which is why they created Maxis. So in 91, though, Wright's home burnt down in the Oakland firestorm, and he felt inspired to create a game about rebuilding your life, which was something that he had to do in that time. Maxis was unsure of the potential of this premise, but then in 97, Electronic Arts, rip Electronic Arts and their, just the way they're seen, they bought Maxis, and they loved the idea and the idea of tying it to SimCity. And so they kind of started a little franchise. And then finally, a few years later, it was the year 2000. And so I have some videos I'm going to be playing, and I'm nervous that it might be too loud or too quiet, so we'll see. And if they don't play on this PowerPoint, I also have them saved, so bear with me and we'll test this out. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll drag it over. I have it here. Okay. All right. I hope this is not too loud. That's right, it's Sims time, baby! So, a little bit of an overview first. The Sims takes place in a suburban town near SimCity, thus tying the two together. So Wright initially wanted to make this purely a house building game, but then they kind of added people as an afterthought, and it really gave the game its character, so they went in that direction. So it's an artificial life game in which you control your own Sims, their interactions with others, you design and build their home, but they also may act autonomously depending on who you have selected, and your neighboring Sims may act autonomously. They have wants and fears, and they live and fall in love and die and, all that. So, but no one ever makes their Sims die in the game. That would be crazy. No, so, Wright was not only inspired by his home burning down to make this game, but he was also inspired by the book Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. You can kind of pick up on what that's about, and I feel like that's a book that's very, fundamental to my life, because I took a lot of animation and art classes as a teenager, and every class like that was Understanding Comics is the most important book you will ever read. So it's a pretty good read. And he was also inspired by A Pattern of Language, which focuses on urban design and community livability. So I think that's pretty cool. The Sims also speak their own language in the game, which is called Simlish, of course. And it was inspired by a ton of real-life languages, ranging from Ukrainian to French to Tagalong. So it's a huge combination of a lot of different languages. And quickly enough, once The Sims came out, modding became a huge part of the game since it was very accessible for casual modders. And Wright even encouraged it. And at this point, sites like Mod The Sims and The Sims Resource came out, and they're still around to this day, which is pretty cool. And Maxis even released a few modding tools themselves, so it was really accessible for folks to be able to mod this game. And just a few months after the game's release, a new expansion pack was added, I think at the time around $25. It added new careers and objects, and just in general extended what you could do in the game in a variety of different ways. So I won't go deeply into every Sims expansion pack like I kind of said before, but Livin' Large was the very first one. Pretty exciting, and I think at this point in time, expansion packs are sort of what the franchises may be known for, unfortunately. You'll also, I don't necessarily mention this in the slide description here, but you'll see, starting with The Sims 1, well, you won't see because I didn't show it, but if you do further research, starting with The Sims 1, Maxis and EA would often release a version of the game that would bundle all of the expansions or a few expansions so that players could access a few at once. And with this first batch of new expansions, Wright really wanted to add content that would specifically add a wackier tone. So, for example, you can see in the top image, there is a tragic clown character who he shows up technically to help depressed Sims, but actually he does not leave them alone, and he does not leave their house until you do like a specific series of actions, which is maybe difficult to figure out, so otherwise he's just there to make them more miserable. It's like, all right, sure, why not? And that leads us to one of the next topics that I'll be covering now and then in this presentation, which is a few odd and unusual things. So, obviously, we're starting off with Drew Carey. Everyone loves Drew Carey. So, for those who didn't know, real-life comedian Drew Carey did indeed make an appearance in The Sims, specifically The Sims House Party, which is one of the expansions. So if your sim is hosting a party and it becomes a super awesome party and meets a series of requirements in order to do so, Drew Carey will show up, and you can't talk to him, but he's gonna be like, "This party rocked, man," and then he leaves and he's like, "I'm telling my agent." So it's, oh yeah. So it's, yeah, that makes sense, honestly. And honestly, whenever I remember this concept of Drew Carey appearing in this game, I always think of this. Oh, what did I just do? I don't know if I kicked something or what. Oh, okay, it's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm just like not gonna move too much. So, when I think of Drew Carey in The Sims, I think of, this being a very odd collaboration in my opinion, and my mind goes to the Disney ride, Superstar Limo, in which Drew Carey also makes an appearance. That ride does not exist anymore, but that was a ride in Disney, in which you're in a limo, you're a superstar, a celebrity, and you meet other celebrities, and Drew Carey is one of them, so I think about that a lot. Another little fun thing is that if you're in the neighborhood view and you bring up the search bar, if you type in Nessie, a little sea monster will appear, which is pretty cute. And finally, I just don't want to get too carried away with weird stuff because it is endless. I can't cover it all. I just want to put a little seed in your head of the Goth family. Well, you don't really know why they're weird yet. Maybe you do, but we'll get back to them. But for now, just know the Goth family shows up in this game as one of the pre-made families, and it consists of Father Mortimer, Mother Bella, and daughter Cassandra. And Bella Goth is perhaps, very well known. So, and now, all right, this also might be, okay, I got another video, so let me bring this up. Oh, awesome, it just auto does that. We're on to the next game in the franchise. It's The Sims 2. So that video and the previous video that I played, they play when you load up the game. And so the Sims 2 one is so especially deeply ingrained into my mind because of the amount of times I would open up the family computer and, start playing The Sims 2 as a child. And our computer was so slow, so I could not really skip that video because it would break the game. So I had to watch it every time. And every time, and I still feel this to this day, but every time I watched that on our family office computer, I felt this intense shame because I just anytime Sims were doing something suggestive or they were scantily clad, I was I feel this is not appropriate for me to be doing this. So I was like really scared that someone would walk in, like my mom would walk by, and she was like, "You should not be playing this game." And I was like, "Oh God." So even now, I watch that video and I feel part of what I felt back then, which was intense excitement and inspiration of like, look at all the things I can do in my game. And also, even now, I still feel like, oh God, should I be watching this? I don't know. So I like love that video, but it also makes me a little nervous. So, and I think that can be said for a series of like animations that'll play in the game when you have your like first kiss, your first woohoo, which, you know, is like, you know, you can picture it. They would like play a little cutscene between the first moment between two Sims, and every time I was like, oh my God, skip it. How do I get out of this? But also I wanted to watch it. I was like, this is kind of cool. And I was like, no, I can't look at this. So I like booted up Sims 2 recently, and I felt that same feeling. I was like, oh my God, is anyone near me? So anyways, not long after the latest Sims expansion in 2003, The Sims 2 was released, and it was basically an instant success. So it contains more of the same as its predecessor, but really expanded upon. You have genetics that are introduced, so before, if two Sims had a baby, it would just look like a Sim. Like, they don't really have different faces all too much in the first game, so their child is not really going to look like a combination of the parents. And in Sims 2, they do that a little bit better. Sometimes they may look entirely different, but, you know, usually they did, right? 360 cameras introduced, more life stages, so different ages of Sims, an aspiration system, and so on. And it really kept that same sense of humor that Wright introduced a little heavier in the initial expansions. Sims 2 also contained a series of original music, which the first game had as well, but in addition to that, it contained Simlish covers of real-world songs by the artists. So you have like Depeche Mode and Katy Perry who are like with their Sim songs covered in Simlish in the game. Yeah. And of course, there were already plenty of early controversies upon its release. So one of which just being the fact that sometimes modders would add paywalls to their content, and that was kind of a big no-no with EA. So that would happen now and then. It still happens, but, you know. And the other being a time in 2005, when a Florida attorney alleged that children were able to find actual nudity and genitalia in the game by, like, I don't know, playing with the code or whatever. So that was not true, but what ended up being true was that, yes, if you did some, like, finagling, you could expand the size of the pixelation of genitals, because there's only pixelated, you know, genitalia. So you could do that, and then they removed that after, you know, this controversy. So, and of course, with the success of the game, we have more expansion packs. Yeah, IKEA, H&M. Oh, I had all of them. And yeah. Oh, just wait till we get to Sims 4. So, this is nothing. So, Sims 2 released, again, a slew of new expansion packs, which is what they were called before, but it also introduced stuff packs. And expansion packs at this point are, you know, paid content with additional game features and items. So you'll have new gameplay mechanics, usually, and also new cosmetic items and furniture and all that. And stuff packs are paid content with purely just additional cosmetic items, pretty much. So you're not going to get, like, heavy new gameplay features like new careers or whatever. You're just going to get, like, new beds. Yeah, stuff. It's stuff. Again, I won't go into detail on each one, but I'll give another little personal anecdote, because I have a lot of those about Sims 2. So, like I mentioned, The Sims was my first game in the franchise, but at that point, The Sims 2 had already been released, and my sister and I, we were like big Sims heads, and we really wanted to play The Sims 2, but my mom refused to buy it for us because we would only ever buy our copies of Sims at Target, and the only version they had of The Sims 2 was bundled with the Nightlife expansion. So my mom was like, I'm not buying you some Nightlife Sims game. You're not playing that. You're too young for that. And I was like, no, I want to play Sims 2. And so finally, she eventually found, like after not too long, she found a regular copy of The Sims 2 at Target, and we were so excited. Of course, my mom didn't know that like woohooing is already a thing in regular Sims, so it's like, I don't know, Mom. We kind of felt like we got away with something. And for each holiday, we would basically get like a new expansion for the game. And when Apartment Life came out, there was a bundle that included that and Nightlife, and my mom did not notice when she bought Apartment Life. She was also giving us Nightlife. And so finally I was like, yes, I get to play Sims 2 Nightlife, and my mom doesn't even know. I was like, I get to have vampires, I get to go to the club, and I was like, this is so cool. And then I played it, and I was like, this is not very like raunchy in any way at all. It's like the only thing that like the club is in The Sims 2 Nightlife is just like a lot type that has like disco lights, and that's pretty much it. So it's really not all that crazy, but it was fun. In general, playing The Sims 2 and its expansions is like this gaming high that I'm like still trying to reach in my life that I've never felt. It just felt so unique, and there were like a billion hidden secrets to uncover, and I was like, oh my god, there's so many cool things that are like spooky and weird. And that kind of leads us into my next section, which is the lore of The Sims 2. So the Sims games, they have, bless you, plenty of pre-existing characters and neighborhoods and worlds and families and so on. But most fans usually kind of agree that those in Sims 2 have some of the most interesting and like eerie and dramatic dynamics. At least I think that, but I think most people kind of agree. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about a couple towns and a couple families. The first one being Pleasant View, which is one of the initial base game worlds in The Sims 2. And it's maybe seemingly very boring because it's just like a normal green town, but this is my favorite in all of The Sims. So I'm a little biased, but it just has like some weird stuff going on. And honestly, when it came to The Sims 2, I really just preferred playing as the default families in this game. I liked making my own too, but I just find them so fun. It just, I don't know, Pleasant View has like a lot of infidelity and missing spouses and spousal murder and like, I don't know. So there's a lot of like drama in relationships, and I really liked that. I was like, this is so exciting. So here we have the Goth family once again. They're back from the original game, but something is different. The official blurb in the game writes that Cassandra is ready to start a family of her own, but can she tame the town Casanova? And can Mortimer bounce back after the disappearance of his wife? Whoa, Bella Goth is missing! Oh my god. That's like the big Sims thing, is that like, I don't know. Bella Goth is like the face of the franchise basically, and the fact that she's like missing in most of these games is like the exciting thing. So I guess the other thing that's different about this family is that now they have a son, Alexander Goth, but he's not even like in the blurb, so he's really not that important, so he's just there. And perhaps, yeah, the biggest mystery in all of The Sims is the disappearance of Bella Goth, which we'll discuss more in the next slide on the topic of Cassandra's Casanova fiance, Don Lothario. This guy. Boo! Boo! Yeah. So this is Cassandra's fiance. He's a man with a in-depth romantic life. His blurb writes, "Who is Don Lothario? Is his engagement to Cassandra Goth genuine? And what about the rumor that her mother, Bella, was last seen scaling the deck of his condo?" Woof! Yeah. So Don is engaged to Cassandra, but he's also having romantic affairs with like at least 3 other women. And also maybe with her mom before she went missing, I don't know. And it's further implied through game text that Bello is last seen using a telescope on his deck. And also in The Sims 2, if you use a large telescope, there's a chance that perhaps you will be abducted by aliens. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. So I have another little video here, which, yeah, my context here is this is a fan-made video from almost 20 years ago about about the disappearance of Bella Goth, and they have multiple videos on this channel about Sims stuff, and I would watch them like constantly. I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. So this is the one. Okay. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Tonight we look at the mysterious disappearance of one of Pleasant View's most beloved Sims, Bella Goth. Friends and neighbors have stories and ideas. Rumors run deep, but the truth and Bella have yet to surface.
The last time I saw Bella was about 8 a.m. that morning. I got home late that evening. I noticed Bella's car was gone, so I went in and immediately asked Cassandra where her mom went. She didn't know. I started calling friends and neighbors, but nobody knew where she was. I finally called the police. Officer Mitch Hayes showed up and told me, "Don't worry, we're gonna find her." So I waited. That was 7 years ago. Nobody knows what happened.
7 years.
An anonymous tipster provided authorities with this photo. It's believed that the last person to see Bella alive was none other than the town's most notorious Casanova, Don Lothario. The picture hit the papers, and it wasn't long before an angry mob of citizens showed up at his home demanding answers.
The cops already asked me about Bella, and I'm telling you what I told them. She came by, hung around a while, and left at 9 p.m. I don't know, maybe she got abducted by aliens. I mean, is that so hard to believe?
Yeah, sure, she got abducted by aliens. There's not a shred of evidence to support that, but we do have a photo of Dawn with Bella the same night she disappeared. You do the math.
We may never know what really happened to Bella Goth, but Mortimer is convinced that someday she'll return. Until that day, he continues to wait. Until next time on Missing Sims, this is Mel Peanut. Good night.
Mel Peanut! So yeah, I watch that like all the time, and they have other ones too. I loved those videos. Okay, yeah. So moving on to the other neighborhood from Sims 2 that I will cover, which is Strangetown. Maybe a little odd, a little strange. This town is primarily known for otherworldly beings who may live there, and also a huge military presence. And, oh, who's that in the image? Is that Bella Goth? What? So yes, it is in fact further suggested if you go to Strangetown that Bella Goth was abducted by aliens. So Bella at times can be seen walking around Strangetown, but if you interact with her, she will not have any memory of her past life. Pretty weird. But pretty cool. So moving on to a handful of the families, I'll mention the Curious family first. They're not too complicated. They're not too scary, but like something to know about using a telescope in The Sims. If you use a large telescope, you may be, again, abducted by aliens. And if you're a male Sim, you might get, pregnant by getting abducted by aliens. So if you're a female Sim, you will not get pregnant. But if you're a male Sim, you will get pregnant and have an alien baby. So this family, yeah, it's just life. So this family is 3 dudes who live together. One of them already has the alien baby. One of them pregnant with the alien baby. The other one, if he uses a telescope, he will get pregnant with an alien baby. So it's just like 3 dudes who are like 3 single dads or, pregnant dads or whatever. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And then I'll also talk a little bit about the Spectre family in Strangetown. So the blurb for this family writes, "Who is buried in Olive Specter's garden? Will the mysterious aging outcast leave her fortune to her niece Ophelia, or as rumored, to an unnamed heir?" So Olive Specter, the woman sitting on the chair there, she has a son named Nervous Subject, and he was taken away from her, which is what's implied. Yeah, his name is Nervous Subject, and he lives with another family in Strangetown who experiments on him in their basement. You can play as them too, so that's pretty cool, I guess, but yeah, it's sad. So now Olive lives in a cemetery, and it's implied that she maybe had a romantic affair with the Grim Reaper. She has also, she's also had multiple dead husbands, mysteriously died, I don't know. And I think you can kind of like, the thing about the families in The Sims in general is that they'll give you a lot of the pieces of the puzzle. They're never going to outright say that like Olive Specter killed all her husbands to see her true love, the Grim Reaper. But like, there's always the big fan interpretation of these things, right? And it's not like subtle exactly. But also, they like give you a little room to kind of have your own idea, but I kind of like that balance, so they're pretty cool. Speaking of death, though, in 2012, EA shut down the official Sims 2 website, and you used to be able to download extra content there, communicate with in the forums with other Simmers, and it was a really, really good resource. So after they shut it down in 2014, EA said that they'd stop supporting the Sims 2, and they released The Sims 2 Ultimate Collection for free download on Origin. The software, I think, only ran for like a couple of weeks, though. But also, I was able to get it like a couple years later because I emailed EA support and I was like, hey, I own physical copies of The Sims 2. Can I get this game? And they were like, send us a picture of your copies. And I was like, okay. And I did. And I was like, here's the file. And they were like, all right, here you go. So I don't know if it's still that easy, but that worked for me. So I have that game. But I got it, after it came out, so you might be able to do it as well. But yeah, I don't know if that still works, so I don't know. You can try. And a month later, not a month later after I got the game, but a month later after it came out, The Sims 2 Super Collection was released as a digital download in the Mac App Store, which included just the first 6 expansions and 3 stuff packs. I think because of like licensing issues, I don't know exactly what, but I guess some of the collabs. So it was neat in some ways for them to release these for free, but not as neat that it was super limited at the time, and legally playing this game now can be a little bit complicated. So it's just sad to see old media become less accessible over time, and it's a bit of a bitter note to end on for Sims 2. Alright. Here we go. Yay. The Sims 3. So roughly a year after The Sims 2 latest expansion pack, The Sims 3 was released in 2009. Once again, we get the previous game, but vastly expanded upon. You can immediately notice they tried to kind of go for a more realistic look-ish. And through being a little more realistic, they also added the amazing color wheel. Whoa! So when you create your sim, you can use a color wheel for the different colors, and it was awesome. It also added open world neighborhoods, which were awesome. So basically, no loading screens if you went to a different Sims house or if you went to a public lot, and it was so awesome. I've said that word a lot, but it was awesome. And adding on to that real world feel, again, they also added NPC story progression. So basically, as your sim was continuing their life, the NPCs around them, their lives would also continue, and it wasn't just like they were in a standstill if you went to load their family. So that was really cool. Gonna be honest, 3 is really amazing. 3 is maybe the best one. I concede. It's maybe the strongest in so many ways, but I like 2 a little bit more, so... But 3 is also awesome. I love 3. And most fans you meet who are into the franchise tend to love 2 and 3 pretty equally from what I've seen. So it was a very, very good addition. Just as before, Sims 3 released a lot of series of expansion and stuff packs. Some of them were awesome. Some of them had their controversies. This is maybe one of the most hated packs in all of Sims history, which is Katy Perry's Sweet Treats. In general, most Sims fans are not really into like the celebrity collabs to this level. We love a Simlish song cover, but we don't really like this level of stuff. And this also does not publicly advertise itself as a stuff pack in the name, but is a stuff pack. It just includes stuff, and the stuff is the most garish candy-themed decor and attire. Not that much of it, and like the colors are horrible. And I like garish, tacky stuff, and this is not it. This is horrible. This is like, you're not going to be using this. You might use one item here and there, but it's so bad, and it clashes so intensely with the game. On top of that, most of the stuff packs are like $20, $25 at the time. This one was like $30 for this one. For just this. It was horrible. Yeah, Cotton Candy Tree is $30, guys. Everyone wanted it. The other slight train wreck of a DLC for other reasons was Island Paradise. At its core, it's not a bad expansion. It adds a tropical location for Sims to travel to and new career options and some cool stuff. So it's not bad, except the problem is that your game will probably barely run when you play this. They added houseboats to this game, and houseboats are the problem for this game not running on most people's computers. It'll make your game lag. These people, like, maybe it'll work, but generally it will make your game not work, and people have to, like, manually uninstall it, and they're like, this sucks, I can't play the game anymore because of Island Paradise. Great. But yeah, so two pretty controversial packs. I have no good segue for this, but I just want to talk about the Goth family again. So I'm fully admitting I don't have a good segue, but this is the main Goth family in The Sims 3, so they're back. And this game, however, is meant to take place timeline-wise before The Sims 1. So this Goth family is a young Mortimer Goth with his parents, Gunther and Cordelia. And a fun fact is that the Goth family households all include cemeteries, so it's pretty cool, pretty spooky, pretty gothy, I don't know. Normally, I would play the pre-game video that they play when you load the game in this next section. But The Sims 4 does not have that. So instead, you'll get a trailer for The Sims 4. I don't know, maybe you'll start noticing a trend here of differences about The Sims 4. I don't know. So here's the launch trailer.
Ain't gonna stop 'cause they tell me so. 'Cause 99 miles per hour, baby, is how fast that I like to go. Can't keep up, she's my rhythm of my own drum. It goes, they go, we go. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, here we go. Feel it in my soul. Really need it so good. Need it, all it takes control. Really need it. Wake up to the city of angels to see my name headline the coast. They say I'm a walking dreamer, baby. If I stopped, it would make the show. Can't keep up with my rhythm of my own drums. It goes, they go, we go. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, here we go. Feel it in my soul. Really need it so good. Need it, all it takes control. Really need it. Oh, here we go. Feel it in my soul. Really need it so good. Gotta need it, all it takes control. Really need it. Oh, here we go.
It's The Sims 4! The Sims 4 came out over 10 years ago in 2014. Look, okay, I'm gonna be maybe being a little mean to this game. I don't know if you can tell already based on my tone. This is not a horrible, horrible game, okay? I still have like hundreds of hours in this game. A lot of people have many thousands of hours in this game. People play this game. I played this game. I've played this game. Everyone plays this game. It has its value. But we'll get into some of the problems. So showcasing once again a pretty cartoony visuals, like kind of like Sims 2-ish, more so than Sims 3, right? And it also advertised deeper character creation than previous games because of a new custom game engine. And yet, some of it was mayhaps a little more limited in the new Create a Sim or CAS engine than in Sims 3 in a few ways. I don't know. For one, the color wheel is gone. Why did they take the color wheel away? One of the biggest controversies. It's weird. Also, the maps are no longer open world. They feel extremely limited, extremely small. It's very weird. So welcome back loading screens also. NPC story progression, no. Also, weirdly, when the game first came out, they did not include pools. Same with toddlers, which are two things that they've had, pretty consistently for the last few games. So it's just odd initially to leave those out. They did eventually add those back in free updates, but they were not in the base game initially. They just kind of seemed like a no-brainer to include some of these things because some of them they've had consistently for years, and others, since the last game, which also existed for years. So again, some things were added in later, some things were definitely not, so some people had to mod them in basically. But it's just the start of a sad trend for The Sims 4. So,
What? Is this current?
I looked on, for all the other ones, I typed them up. This one I was like, I'm not typing this up, I'm going on Wikipedia, and I'm screenshotting all the expansions, because it's too many. So, The Sims 4, it's as current as a few days ago at least. So, The Sims 4 has had 11 years to build up this, 11 years, I had to look at the year, to build up its massive list of DLC. And again, DLC isn't new for Sims, but maybe compare the amount to have we seen previously. Not only do you have expansion packs and stuff packs like you did before, but now we have game packs, and now we have kits. That's a lot to kind of think about. Game packs are basically expansion packs, but they have new gameplay content and cast stuff, but usually they won't have a new world. And maybe they have fewer items than expansion packs. But they're not an expansion pack, but it's kind of an expansion pack. And kits, they're stuff packs, but maybe a little more specific and also smaller, or maybe not specific, or maybe better items, maybe not. So it's just really odd. And if you bought every single one of these, this is the thing that everyone wants to talk about. If you buy every single expansion pack for a Sims game, how much would it cost? And this would cost over $1,000 if you bought all of these at retail price. So, what's up? Oh yeah, I have most of them, but I stopped it after a certain point because I was like, I can't. I have all of them for 2, all of them for 3. I do not have all of them for 4. I gave up. It's a lot of money. As a whole, I feel like, yeah. Everyone knows already. So, The Sims 4 has become most known, as maybe the franchise has, for its DLC packs and the controversies regarding them. And there are various packs that are pretty unloved because they're laggy or they don't really work, or maybe they added in content that was later added in for free. So that's kind of controversial. But these are the two that I most vividly remember when they came out and people's huge reaction to them. So My First Pets is a stuff pack that includes recolors of items that were already in the Pets expansion, and it also added pet hamsters. And people were like, why didn't you just include this in the Pets expansion? These are the same items, but a different color. I did buy this pack, I'm sorry. But I really wanted hamsters, and they got me. So I know, you needed pets to use it, which was also a big deal. And people were furious when this came out. Journey to Batu, I also bought this pack, I'm sorry. But these are not the two I gave up on, despite being problematic. As you can see, it's Star Wars, so it was like a Disney collaboration in which players travel to Batu, which is the Galaxy's Edge land in the parks, right? So it's the real world place you can go to in the Disney parks. So it was basically an ad for Galaxy's Edge and Disney World and Disneyland and all that, and people were really pissed, you're making us pay for an ad in our game, basically. It also was unique. There are a couple expansions like this, but it was unique in the sense that it added gameplay objectives. So it's less so life simulation and more like now you have like objectives you have to do in the game, like little missions. And I don't really like when I'm playing Sims. I'm not playing for like missions and quests. Okay, I'm playing to like make my Sims do things and like have lives and like. I'm a Star Wars fan, okay? So when they do it. So when they announced this, I was the one person who was like, oh, this is for me. This is for me. I was like, yes, it's going to be Star Wars The Sims. I need this. I need this so much. And it was not Star Wars The Sims. It was like a really crappy game mode that was really, really fast and really worthless and bad. So I was very sad. How much? I'm so bad at remembering the cost nowadays because they always go on sale too. Does anyone know cost of expansions right now? Game pack 30. Okay, yeah, $30. So for a game pack, and if you recall, these are. If you recall, they're on Steam now. So. Yeah, even I was mad, and I was, like, kind of excited for it. I was like, I don't get the hate. This could be kind of cool. And I was like, no, it just sucked. So, a ton of people, in general, play The Sims 4. It's extremely popular, especially since it was added to Steam, and the base game is now free on Steam. So, fans, though, as a whole, feel extremely disappointed. Even if they love The Sims 4, they're still kind of like... oh, look at what they took away from us. The amount of paid content is way more than it's been in the past, which was already a little much, but like usually it was at least kind of good. Usually it was good. Also, it kind of feels like this game in some ways, and this might be just me talking, but in some ways it feels like this game is a little bit more like sanitized in some ways. I don't mean like in a woke way or like in a, you know, they took my intense, horrible things out of The Sims. Like, The Sims is not that deep, right? But, like, it just felt a little more, like, sanitized in some ways. It like, includes werewolves or vampires or whatever in some of the expansions. But, like, I don't know. A lot of the charm and the dark comedy is, like, not as apparent in The Sims 4. For example, and just realize I'm being, like, kind of sarcastic here. But, for example, a classic Simmer move back in the day was to make a little pool and put your Sim in the pool. And if you take the ladder away from the pool, your Sim can't get out of the pool, and then they drown in the pool and they die. So everyone's done that, don't lie. Everyone knows. You do more than drown Sims when you play Sims. There's lots of ways to kill them. So, but now in The Sims 4, if you put a Sim in a pool and you take away the ladder from the pool, they can climb out of the pool without a ladder. That's so messed up. It's like actually kind of probably a good thing actually, since it's kind of more helpful that, and you can still build a wall around the pool and actually kill them. But I'm like half joking. Yeah. So I wanted to showcase the game's version of the Goth family one last time. This is how they're represented in The Sims 4, and I don't know, they don't quite have the same mystery in the past. And this game also takes place in an alternate timeline to the other games, so it's like an alternate universe in which I feel like some of the life is sucked out of it, but that's just me. It's still fun. Still have a lot of time in this game, but I don't know, it could be better. Now, I don't know. What about The Sims 5? There's not gonna be a Sims 5. So, EA has said that their plan is basically to keep The Sims 4 going on and on. Great, because why try and fix things or start over when you keep adding paid content and maybe sometimes a free update, but mainly just paid content. They have something they're working on called Project Renee, which a lot of people assumed for a while was Sims 5's code name. And they said it was something that will be within The Sims franchise, but not a mainline game. And they're also working on a mobile game that at the moment is called Project Stories, but we don't really know all that much about either of these. Some people are theorizing that Project Renee is like an additional building tool to Sims 4, but no one really knows yet. So it's just sad that it's basically we're stuck with Sims 4 forever because they don't really feel like actually working on things and changing things. And again, this is not like a horrible, terrible game, but it has a lot of problems that, like, you know, it'd be cool if they tried to work on it and maybe go in a different direction. So it's just sad to see that this is where the franchise is at. That's me. I'm all of them. That's how I feel when I think about Sims 5. Even if there's some good decisions here and there, it's just, I don't know. It's a really unique game franchise with a billion cool hidden features and details to uncover. And hopefully, if you didn't know some of these things, maybe you're intrigued to learn more. If you did know them, hopefully you weren't like, she got that one wrong, that one's wrong, that was not right either, so I hope that was okay. If you want to play Sims and you haven't played it before, if you can get Sims 2 Ultimate Collection or Super Collection, that would be cool. But if not, definitely Sims 3. I have technically a little bit of time left, so this is my If I Have Time video, which perhaps some of you have seen before. I think this is one of the most iconic. Sorry, I'm only showing like extra Sims 2 videos, but they're the best ones, sorry. So this is perhaps one of the most iconic Sims 2 music videos, which changed my life. It's amazing. And I'll end on this note.
He was a boy, she was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious? He was a punk, she did ballet. What more can I say? He wanted her, she'd never tell. Secretly she wanted him as well. And all of her friends stuck up their nose. They had a problem with his baggy clothes. He was a skater boy, she said see you later boy. He wasn't good enough for her. She had a pretty face, but her head was up in space. She needed to come back down to earth. 5 years from now, she sits at home, feeding the baby, she's all alone. She turns on TV, guess who she sees? Skater boy rocking up MTV. She calls up her friends, they already know, and they've all got tickets to see his show. She tags along and stands in the crowd, looks up at the man that she turned down. He was a skater boy, she said see you later boy. He wasn't good enough for her. Now he's a superstar, slamming on his guitar to show pretty face, see what he's worth. He was a skater boy, she said see you later boy. He wasn't good enough for her. Now he's a superstar, slamming on his guitar to show pretty face, see what he's worth. Sorry girl, but you missed out. Well, tough luck, that boy's mine now. We are more than just good friends, and this is how the story ends. Too bad that you couldn't see the man that boy could be. There is more than meets the eye. I see the soul that is inside. He's just a boy, and I'm just a girl. Can I make it any more obvious? We are in love, haven't you heard how we rock each other's world? I'm with the skater boy, I said see you later boy. I'll be backstage after the show. I'll be at the studio, singing the song we wrote about the girl you used to know. I'm with the skater boy, I said see you later boy. I'll be backstage after the show. I'll be at the studio, singing the song we wrote about the girl you used to know.
I would watch this all the time, and I was like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. coming to my panel.